There are no teams on bye this week, but there are also a bunch of running back injury situations to monitor. My name is Joe Dolan. This is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Wednesday, December 14th, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback in Week 15 and for the rest of the year for the LA Rams is Baker Mayfield. Rams coach Sean McVay told reporters on Tuesday that John Wolford will be out this week with a neck injury when the Rams take on the Packers on Monday night. That means Baker will start 11 days after leading LA to an improbable comeback against the Raiders. McVay also said that Mayfield is expected to start the rest of the year. Now, the fantasy impact of this is minimal. The Rams stink. They've just had terrible luck with injuries. Their offensive line is probably the worst in the NFL. And Baker has been arguably the worst quarterback in the league this year. I don't think one second half is going to change my opinion on that. That being said, he's now in a completely different situation with a completely different coach, and he's playing for his NFL future. So would it shock me if Baker is, he shows the promise that he showed in Cleveland a couple of years ago? No. It's just probably not something that I'm going to get excited about from a fantasy perspective. By the way, McVay also said on Tuesday, that Cooper Kupp would be, quote, hard-pressed to return to the lineup this year from his ankle injury, which was expected. There was no way the Rams were going to rush him back onto the field. So Baker's throwing to Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell and really a bunch of guys. So not really something that I'm getting terribly excited about, but hey, good for Baker. First running back spot belongs to J.K. Dobbins this week. Now, Dobbins has had mostly a lost first season back from his major knee injury, but he showed signs of potentially salvaging the final weeks of 2022 for fantasy with his first 100-yard rushing performance since the season finale of his rookie season in 2020. He paced Gus Edwards in carries, 15-13, in rushing yards, 120-66, and in touchdowns. He scored and Edwards didn't, while also leading in snap share, 43-34%, in a victory over the Steelers last week, which was his first action since needing cleanup surgery on the knee after week 6. Now, personally, I didn't think Dobbins looked great. He had a severe hitch in his giddy-up on his long run last week, but it was his first game in quite some time, so maybe improvement will come. Our Dr. Edwin Porras suggests that Dobbins isn't likely to be 100% if ever again until 2023, and the hitch in his giddy-up seemed to suggest that that was the case. Nonetheless, he did bust off that long run, and he was playing. So maybe there's a little more fantasy value here than I thought there was going to be. Now, the Ravens take on the Browns' woeful run defense this week, and if they have to start undrafted rookie Anthony Brown at quarterback, I expect they'll lean on Dobbins and Edwards quite a bit. In our second running back spot, it's very clear Saquon Barkley is not 100%. Barkley picked up a neck injury in practice last week, and his status against the Eagles on Sunday came all the way down to a game-time decision. While Barkley did play, it was on a pitch count, and with the Giants getting utterly dismantled from the opening whistle of the game, New York didn't really risk him. Barkley played a season-low 31% of the offensive snaps, the first time all year he was below 69%, and managed just 9 carries for 28 yards rushing and 2 catches for 20 yards receiving. The good news is he came out of the game no worse for the wear. The bad news is the injury limited him and potentially could force the Giants to cut his snaps even if he didn't suffer a setback. The Giants have been exceptionally well coached this year, but the fact of the matter is, through poor roster construction under Dave Gettleman and bad luck with injuries, Brian Daboll has probably squeezed every bit of dirty water possible out of this rack. The Giants take on the Commanders' great defense on Sunday night, and Saquon gained 81 yards from scrimmage and scored a touchdown on 23 touches when they last met 2 weeks ago. But that neck injury wasn't a factor at that point. At wide receiver 1, Deebo Samuel probably won't contribute to your fantasy playoff run. Deebo went down awkwardly against the Buccaneers on Sunday, and the immediate reaction was one of serious concern, with Samuel quickly clutching his knee. It didn't look great because the entire team came over to wish him well. Now, on Monday, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Samuel suffered an MCL sprain and an ankle injury and is expected to return during the regular season. Coach Kyle Shanahan seemed to confirm that on Tuesday, sort of. He told reporters that Deebo's time frame to return is, quote, 3-ish weeks. Well, 3-ish weeks. Okay, so let's do some basic calculus here. We're in week 15. 16, 17, 18 is 3. Well, week 18 is the last week of the regular season. The last week of fantasy is week 17 for most people. So it looks like Deebo's going to miss the next few games at the very least. The other pass catchers in this offense will get a boost, but his season for fantasy, probably over at this point. I'm not saying you drop him, but if you're like desperate for a roster spot, I don't think you're going to regret dropping Deebo at this point. The 49ers' entire focus is not getting him back for your fantasy championship. It's getting him back for the playoffs. In our wide receiver 2 spot, we got to watch Amari Cooper. Cooper picked up a hip injury in practice last week and was questionable headed into the week 14 tilt with the Bengals. Now, despite reports that Cooper could be on a pitch count, he actually played 86% of the Browns' offensive snaps, which, based on this season's trends, is a full snap share and a full workload. And he was targeted 7 times. But perhaps because of the injury, or more likely the poor play of Deshaun Watson, he caught just 2 of the targets for 42 yards, and by the end of the game looked exasperated. On Wednesday, Cooper told reporters that the hip injury is more specifically to a core muscle. It's getting better, Cooper said. Just part of playing football in this league. Obviously, it was a hindrance anytime you're not 100%, but just try to be available for your team. With Donovan Peoples-Jones and emerging and David Njoku back, plus Watson struggling, Cooper could be more volatile than even he usually is. And with the Browns all but eliminated from the playoffs, it's possible Cleveland shuts him down for good. So keep an eye on that. And on Thursday night, we might have Ken Walker back. Walker left week 13 early with an ankle injury, and he never came close to playing against the Panthers in week 14 with 3 straight DNPs last week. Now, DJ Dallas also logged 3 consecutive DNPs, and he didn't play on Sunday either with his own ankle injury, which left Travis Homer and Tony Jones to combine for 5.6 fantasy points and 32 scrimmage yards in a loss to Carolina. Now, the Seahawks play on Thursday Night Football against the 49ers, so the short turnaround is concerning, but Walker logged the limited practice on Tuesday, a good sign he should be close to a return. Unfortunately, it's a brutal matchup with San Francisco, which has allowed a league-low 15.5 fantasy points per game to the position, so he's more of a low-end RB2 if he does play. But unlike the Browns with Cooper, the Seahawks do have incentive to get Walker onto the field. They are in the thick of a playoff hunt. So he could help you in your playoff hunt. I'm Joe Dolan. This has been the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. I'm obligated and excited to tell you that our super early bird special at fantasypoints.com is live. Go to fantasypoints.com and any subscription you pick up for 2023. That's what it's not, even though you're subscribing during the 2022 season, the subscription is for the rest of this year and all of 2023. And it's the lowest rate we're going to offer at 30% off either a premium or standard subscription. So you'll really want to get in on the ground floor because those subscription rates expire after the Super Bowl. So head to fantasypoints.com, subscribe to the Super Early Bird Special, and I'll talk to you in our subscriber Discord. And I'll see you tomorrow, everybody.